Hello, my fellow nerds. How you guys doing today? So I'm currently in Kentucky. Gonna head down to Tennessee here in a bit. But yeah, so today I thought I'd tell you about a comic I've been reading, Savage Dragon. Well, more specifically, Savage Dragon Archives, which it's the main issues of Savage Dragon, but unfortunately it's black and white. I'm not a big fan of black and white, to be honest. This is one of the biggest problems I had with manga. You tend to lose things with the black and white. Some details just don't seem to pop out as much, and then they'll try to reference it, and it's like, oh, that's what that meant. Or they're trying to portray some action, but it's kind of hard to tell what they're really doing. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of black and white, but unfortunately, it was the only thing that Hoopla had. So I just had to put up with it. But Savage Dragon is published by Image Comics, the same company that does Spawn, if you guys didn't know. It's actually one of their first titles. So he's been running for, about a little over 30 years at this point. On and off. I don't know if he's been continuous, but I think he's been on and off. But yeah, it's been really, really interesting. It tells the story. It takes place in Chicago, which I thought was really interesting because a lot of these comics, they just take place in New York. If they take place in a real city, it's usually New York. So the fact that it took place in Chicago was kind of interesting. But yeah, so basically the comics start off with him being found in the wreckage of a burned field, or is it burning building? They kind of switched back and forth between them. So he was found after a big fire, basically. In the middle of it, unharmed, with no memory of who he was. Now, what makes him other than that, unique, is that he's a really big guy. Like a good 8 feet, I think. He's a really tall, muscular man with green skin and a fin that runs along the center of his head. So it's obvious that he may not be human, but yeah. So, and he has no memory of who he is. There's actually a really interesting scene with the officer who is not necessarily interrogating him, but kind of trying to figure out who he is. Asks him, what's your name? I don't know. And then asks him who's the president? He says who the president is. Who won the World Series last year? It was these people. So he knows a lot of world facts, but he just didn't know any personal details. So, yeah, and the officer's kind of happy with this because not only is this guy really strong, he can actually also be useful, because at this point in time, there are a bunch of what are called super freaks running around the city, and basically these are people with powers, and it's actually kind of unique. Some of these powers are actually really unique, but yeah, and the police are trying to contain them, but they're losing. They're just flat out losing. So, needless to say, Dragon is convinced to join the police department, and he does. And yeah, this is basically him trying to keep the city safe from super freaks, and it's really kind of cool how just localized it is. This isn't a story where he's off to space, saving the universe. He's not that level of hero. His powers are, he has regenerative abilities, but they're not Wolverine or Deadpool levels. He was able to regrow a hand, but it took a couple weeks. And he has super strength, but not to the point of, he can pick up I don't think he can pick up a bus. I mean, he's really strong, but he's not Hulk level strong or anything like that. So I mean, when he goes up against most foes, he's able to go in and go toe to toe, but he's not strong enough that you're basically like, oh my god, there's no threat here. Why is they trying to build tension? No, there's tension because he's not that strong, that there are a lot of people that are around him that are as strong as him, so it can really be up in the air as to who's going to come out on top. So it's just a really interesting comic. Um, did I mention it was black and white? I think I did. I'm trying to remember. This is actually the second take of this video. I think I bungled the first one too much, so I'm kind of running around in circles at this point. But yeah. So he not only that, but he has such an interesting cast of characters in the comic as well. You know, he has a lot of he I wouldn't say he's a bit of a flirt, but he does have. I guess a lot of women seem to find him charming because there's a lot of like people who like want to jump in bed with him. Well, a lot of women. I'll say that a lot of women want to jump in bed with him. You know, so it's just kind of interesting. Um, Currently, at the point in comics I'm reading now, he has a girlfriend. So, unfortunately, though, they haven't really focused on the relationship. So, a lot of the comic is focused on him, you know, trying to catch these super freaks running around the city. So, that I'm not a big. I don't mind that. That's not a bad thing. But you know, kind of going a little bit into the personal side of things. That's one of the things I think people loved about Marvel when they started kind of doing the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man. You know, it wasn't just always, you know, superhero, little bit of personal life. It was little bit of personal life, superhero, little bit of personal life, superhero. You know, like it felt like Marvel kind of evened it out a bit more. You know, they kind of made the personal life part of the story, and not just, you know, just the superheroing. So, yeah, a little bit more of the personal life. You do see a little bit of it, so it's not completely devoid of that, but it's also kind of nice just to kind of, you know, have like the bad guy of the week kind of format, which is kind of what this does. It does have an overarching bad, but they're not, you know, in every episode. They're not in every issue, and yeah, it's just, you know, it's a really good like episodic comic so far. I believe it actually had a cartoon show back in the '90s, if memory serves. So I haven't seen it, so I don't know how good it is or how accurate. But let's see if there's any other pertinent information that needs to be known. I don't think so. But yeah, I mean, I've been enjoying the comic so far. I'd enjoy it even more if it was in color, but like I said, that was all that Hoopla had. So I had to make do with what I could get my hands on. But I've been seeing this comic around for years, and it's like I've always kind of been interested, but I was never able to like find the beginning of it. So it was really nice to kind of read this from the beginning, and as from what I can tell, it's still going on. So yeah, it's just a really interesting comic, really good concept, really good like character designs, really good story, and I love that. And one thing that's really kind of neat is there's a lot of gray areas, not necessarily like gray areas, but you know, uh, there's not a whole lot of moral superiority going on, at least. Dragon has it a little bit, you know. But you know, for him, it's the law. You know, he's a cop, and he seems to enjoy being a cop. So, he has a very pro law enforcement view on things. So I think that's kind of an interesting take, you know. So, yeah, Savage Dragon, Image Comics. Please give it a shot. It's really good, and honestly, I think and I would like to get some more titles out there for Hollywood to maybe take a look at. You know, I think this could be something that might be good. I mean, it'd be kind of a little awkward to have you know, a franchise centered around a big green guy, but I mean, we have franchises set around weirder things, I guess, so it wouldn't be that out there. But yeah, so go ahead and give it a try. Let me know what you guys think. You guys know what to do, and I will catch you all later.